Yo ho ho, what's up? It's Soul King Kraz here with another character guide for PW4. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Surgeon of Death, Trafalgar D. Law. Alright, so much like with other characters that try to implement the Core 4 for his skills, that is to say Cheat Death, Full Force Burst, Hero Strength, and Hidden Resolve. Law doesn't really have any dedicated armor breaking, so I like to go with Power Overwhelming. And then Burning Resolve is in here for a couple reasons. A few characters in this game really excel with launcher combos. Combine that with the fact that you're gonna want to be mixing up ground to air a lot. So Burning Resolve is going to help you maintain a little bit of extra stamina as you transition into the air. Plus it helps you dash a little bit faster and more consistently as well. Alright, so with your specials, honestly, I talked to Nylan about this as well on our Power Wars Discord. Between me and Nylan, because I've done a lot of testing as well at this point, it seems like Law's special moves are purely unnecessary, in that Law's base moveset is already so powerful that you could literally just equip anything you want to give it flair, I guess. If you want more efficiency with Hidden Resolve, I would recommend subbing out Scalpel with something like Scan or Tact. However, for my own build, I prefer to use Scalpel just because it's only a 3-star move, and since Law doesn't really have a lot of aerial special options, it's best practice to really just go with damage. Scan is, I would say, another very valid option as well, though. And you know what? We'll start outside of my build, right? We'll start with a little bit of interesting options for him. Sturban is also an interesting option, too. Alright. So, starting out with his room placement, right? If you just place the room by itself, it stays stationary until you either dash or finish a combo or get staggered like I just did. Alright, now we'll just run away from there. If you place the room, you can attack both outside of it and within it. So, it's a nifty little mechanic that was a lot better in Power Wars 3. However, in this game you can still place the room and then fight away from it. Some of his moves will even teleport you to it. It's kind of a useful little trick. Hold on, let's just clear this room real quick because it's getting a little hectic. Alright, this would be a good chance to actually show off Law's Full Force Burst. Literally has Logia properties, and when I say Logia properties, it makes you invincible. Alright. So that should just about do it for this zone. Now we can start showing off a little bit more. Alright. So Law's standard string. Does a little flip, throws people back with a little gamma knife action. Then you have his C2. Light, heavy. Cuts people in the room, and then tacks them into the air. This is a nice little launcher setup. Alright, then you have his C3. Light, heavy. Another good aerial setup. This one does a little bit more damage. And it also grounds enemies rather than sending them into the air. So in terms of utilizing the physics, that's actually a pretty unique way of performing some setups. Now for C4, light, 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 heavy, he scans targets. Alright, now what scan will do, and we'll do it again. It'll essentially place a debuff on them that allows you to deal more damage. Useful, it's by far, you want to scan people often with Law, especially named enemies. Because they'll just take more damage, like it's free damage, and it's what you want at all times. Now C5 is this little sword flip maneuver. It teleports him to the room's location, and then he performs that little maneuver there. So here, we'll just place the room. Light, 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 heavy, teleport. Alright, Whitebeard wants to kill us, so let's kill him. So now, like I was saying earlier, when you're in your full force burst, you gain Logia properties as Law in that you don't take damage. I'm presuming that this is a nod to his Dressrosa fight, where he was essentially losing limbs and just didn't die. So yeah, Law's full force burst is extremely powerful, especially with cheat death. Now, I'm sure you've seen me using Sturban a couple times by now, and you're wondering, why does it keep canceling out of it? Well, Sturban has a very unique property to it, where the attack will finish even if you've canceled out of it. So all you have to do is just wind it up, dash out of it, and then the conjured weapons will just fan out automatically. Very useful. Alright, we're going to do it again, just to show it off. So yeah, it's a useful little trick. Alright, now his aerial string. It's just this little flurry and then into a forward slash. The forward slash is actually kind of useful because it gives you a little bit of forward momentum. Not much, though. The other move that gives you a little bit of momentum is his aerial C4 to 3 lights into a heavy. Mid-air injection shot. It's actually very useful, not only for the scan, but also for the mobility as well. His aerial C2 is easily his strongest option, as it just showers the area with debris and does a massive amount of damage. However, his C3 Countershock is also incredibly powerful, and I would highly recommend using that as often as possible. Now his aerial C5 is very good, especially at crowd control. Very stylish as well. Does not do a ton of damage though, and it's better for chipping away at armor bars. But the final move on it is also a neat little setup device in that it just tacks them into the air at the end. So that's pretty useful as well. I'm kind of curious, to scan armor break. It does not. Good to know. Alright, so right now Cheat Death's going to pop off, so we're just going to butcher everything in sight. Especially with Gamma Knife. Oh, he got lucky there. Alright, we'll go back to full. So yeah, that's essentially his bread and butter. I used to use Sturban a whole lot. It's a useful little fan of damage, especially if you want to do some fancy canceling shenanigans. Scan is also useful if you're in a pinch and you need a health item real quick. Because normally you have to kill an enemy to get a health item to drop. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, go back to my preferred build. And I'll show off what the gameplay looks like once you have Shambles on. Because Shambles is where you can get really interesting. So one advantage that Law has that not a lot of characters do have is that he can completely manipulate the physics engine in this game that normally a lot of characters have to work a little extra in order to take advantage of. And what I mean by this is that normally when a move knocks someone away, you just have to dash after them in order to continue your combo. But Law has a couple of tools to mitigate excessive dashing. So you can use his tech cancel on the ground and in the air in order to prevent enemies from getting knocked out too far. In addition to this, you can also use his room, because the room itself is actually going to generate a physics engine where it keeps enemies not rooted in place, but it keeps them in a fixed location, sort of. Especially in the air. You see this a lot in the air. You can just keep them juggled in the room. You have to be careful though, because you are still subject to all of the burst triggers, especially when you're in the air. But yeah, there's Shambles in a nutshell, right? So when I was just talking about manipulating the physics of room, what Shambles allows you to do, it literally keeps enemies rooted for a second. Especially if their armor is broken. If their armor is broken, then they're also going to be subject to Shambles as well. And it turns their head into a bomb, sends them all flying, and then if you have another room out, you can just pull them right back into it. So here, we'll try and put that into practice here. It's not easy to do on a dime. Alright. There we go. So the idea is just keeping the room around your enemies while never losing your combo momentum without staying rooted to one static location. And that's why your launcher is going to be really useful, in particular with Law. And also, since Law's a tech type, he's going to have a particularly powerful air dash as well. Alright. 2, 3 into aerial injection. One, two, no. How dare you? Imagine just trying to do a damn combo guide. Alright, so now, what's useful about Injection Shot is that the, I believe the Injection Shot itself will also play Scan. Actually, I'm not sure if it does. Alright, did it? No, it did not. Okay, so you have to... That's another reason why you want to really maintain the physics engine that I was talking about in terms of keeping enemies rooted within the room. Because you're going to be dealing... Honestly, you're just going to be dealing the most damage within room. Like, I hate to say it, but your combat outside of room kind of blows. Your damage within the room is incredible. And not only that, but the crowd control is insane. So what's really nice about Scan, if you just cancel out of it like I just did there, just do a quick scan on enemies, and then before the injection shot, you just cancel out into an ult, or into shambles, it's going to deal more damage. And see, yeah, the room will also keep enemies locked within it. Alright. But yeah, we got a good bit of damage done on Sabo without taking any real damage until he bursted. We can take a little bit of extra damage and then burst. That should do it for Sabo. Nice. Scan into Scalpel. Very stylish and very effective. I'll have to do it when I'm not in full force burst though, because I have quite a few damage enhancers. But yeah, check this out. Ready? So Scalpel... Scalpel, honestly, by itself, not a particularly powerful skill. Like, it just looks cool, but it's, Here, we'll even use it on an armor-broken guy, just to show you what I mean. Oh, it actually defeated them? Okay, so it's not terrible. But when you have someone scanned, and then you go into Scalpel... Alright. Well, obviously the Frankie family is just going to be a bunch of shits. So we're just going to put them down real quick. Alright, so that one in the back, his armor's not even broken, but they both got taken down. So Scan, absolutely, like, every time you alternate your variations, you want to have, like, one string of combos just to do whatever you want, just to have fun. Do whatever, but then, like, for your next setup, like, 1 out of every 2 variations should put a scan on every named target that you can. And you can do it in the air. So you really have no reason to not scan people, because honestly, scan is going to be your most powerful tool for taking down named enemies. Next to, well, I mean, obviously next to your full first burst. There you go. But yeah, Law is a very interesting tech type because he actually makes somewhat some use out of his light cancel. So one thing that's also really useful to do with Scan, if you do go into injection shot, you can then combo out of the injection shot if you have an ideal positioning down. So that's why His mobility can be really useful. It essentially allows you to press an attack without losing your combo momentum, without allowing them to burst. Also, it does appear that whenever a body is like being flung around in the room, it appears that they take contact damage. One other thing that's really useful, and I haven't really touched up on this in a while, but if you want to stay grounded out of a dash cancel, because a lot of the times dash canceling will take you airborne, especially if your target is airborne. If you hold down the dash button and the power dash button at the same time, you'll cancel out of the power dash and go into a run on the ground. So that's something I like to maintain with anyone I can. Alright. And honestly, from there, you know, you can mix up the combos however you see fit. One that I like in particular is C3. Into his C3 into his cancel. Into a dash, which takes you in the air. Into his C5. Into his aerial string. Into counter shock. Cancel. Injection shot. Law is one of the few tech types that actually does better in the air, I would say, than he does on the ground. Same for Kuzan. So what's cool about Shambles, if you cancel out of it into a dash, the dash will actually drag the bombed bodies with you, so you can actually use them kind of as weapons. Another unique mechanic for Law right there. So he has a move that turns enemies into essentially bombs. Really useful. Alright, let's make sure we don't die on stream here. That would be incredibly embarrassing. Ooh, Whitebeard wants my ass, huh? Alright, that should do it. Should do it for good old Whitebeard. Nope, not yet. Buggy the Clown, strongest pirate in the world. So yeah, Shambles, I mostly like Shambles for the style. It does have a useful little utility, as I've said before, but honestly, his most useful skills are really his ults, because they just do the most damage. And that's the one thing Law really lacks, is just solid damage. But yeah, that utility it has to just drag the bodies with you is really fun, and you know, it's good crowd control. You'll be able to stop a lot of Frankie family shenanigans with that one. Also, Gamma Knife. You can do whatever you want with his skills. I don't really care what you do with the skills, but if you're playing as Law and you don't use Gamma Knife, you're gonna notice a difference. Like, Gamma Knife is his strongest option. There's just no doubt about it there. Surgeon of Death, you know. Oh, I forgot to mention with Surgeon of Death. I mean, this is something that's fairly easy to recognize, like, right away. So this is the default size of room. I've noticed, too, that if you use it in one of your combos, it's actually a little bit bigger. If you're in your full force burst, room is much bigger. You can also use the room while in the air, and then leave it. It does create this little unique property to a C3. It's a good way to drop out of the air a little bit quicker as well. But beyond that, I haven't really noticed it actually doing anything else other than, you know, just being bigger. It might be able to manipulate enemies in a different way than it would on the ground. But honestly, at that point, you might as well just... Yeah. I've done testing with it before. It doesn't do anything noticeably different. It's just a shame, though, because a lot of people in the community, especially people who have played Pyro Warriors 3 a lot, have a lot of complaints about how Law handles in 4. And I mean, it's understandable without dodge offsetting, though. If you're not going to do dodge offsets, then there would be no reason to keep that mechanic that he prospered on so thoroughly in 3. And honestly, in this game, having the room nearby is just a better idea, because it allows you to, you know, it allows you to do the most damage the most efficiently. Because when you're outside of the room, you're not going to be dealing a lot of damage. It's just, I respect that it was a cool mechanic in 3, but in 4, he adapted to the changes better, much better off. Excuse me. I don't know, it's hard to really add much more else to Law in terms of a guide. I highly recommend, you know, use Scan more frequently than you have been until now. Because Scan is just going to be the thing that gives you a competitive edge with him, especially in bounty hunting. Alright. So that just about does it for Law. Our next character guide is going to be on Oruji. Or Arouge. I don't really know how his name is supposed to be pronounced. I had to wiki it up to see it was Oruji, but I've always called him Arouge. I'm going to look at the Mad Monk on our next guide. And until then, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.